So here we are kind of in the middle of page 1 here, and there's a little book reminder at the bottom. We'll adjust the camera there at the end. And here's the instructions. Use the product rule for square roots to find each product. And the product rule is just what we've been talking about, that you can have two radicals multiplied together and you can combine them under one radical. So when you have a matching root or a matching index, this is when this works. So matching indexes only when you're doing this. So you can say the product rule says you can combine those underneath the same radical, 7x times 11y. And so we're just practicing, right now we're just taking some baby steps here and practicing smushing them together, bringing them together. And underneath the radical, then you'd have 7 times 11 is 77, and x times y. You'd write that as radical 77xy. Now we're not simplifying, none of these will necessarily go any further. We're just going to multiply. You can check to see if they will, but let's just, we're just practicing that concept of putting them together. We'll see how this all plays out later on in this. Let's look at number 12. What's different about this one? Well, there's fractions involved. You've got a seventh, and is it going to change what we can do with the product rule? No. The product rule says we can take, they're both square roots, we can go ahead and take one big radical and multiply the first one times the second one. 1/7 a times 1/7 b. Okay? And what you would get is a times b, and just plain old 1, 2 as well. So you'd have a times b out here, and then 7 times 7 on the bottom would be 49. And some of you might be able to understand that that actually is just the same as saying AB over 49, because this is really AB over 1. AB times 1 is just AB. Okay? And then in terms of finished form, we actually know the square root of 49. In other words, what times itself would give you that 49 on the bottom? Well, the 7 did, and we saw where that came from. So one of the things that you can do is you can split split across division too. So this actually, you can rewrite this as radical AB over radical 49, and we know the answer to radical 49 is just 7. What we don't have any clue about is what A and B equal, so that's just going to stay radical AB. And so one thing that you want to keep in mind is that eventually a finished radical, a finished or a simplified radical, will not have a radical in the denominator. And I'm sorry if I'm going off the page here. We'll come back to that in a minute. Oh, can't spell today. Denominator. Goodness. Okay. So again, just practicing pushing it together, multiplying them together. I went ahead and made it one fraction. 1 over 49 times AB is just AB over 49. And then because we're all in the family here, I can go ahead and split that apart. I knew that the 49 was a perfect square because it came from 7 times 7. So I can go ahead and simplify that out to just 7. Okay. Now you try number 8 down here at the bottom, and I'll go ahead and adjust the camera to get that little bit in of the hint. So now would be a good time to pause the video and try this one on your own and see what happens. Okay. And when you come back to this, you should get a final answer of radical 3 over 7. Now in later sections, we will emphasize the fact that that's really radical 3 over radical 7, and we don't finish with a radical in the denominator. So we'll learn how to what's called rationalizing the denominator. But I think at this point they actually just leave the fraction under the radical. So that's fine leaving it in this form. We don't ever want to stop with a radical in the denominator, even though these two are equal right now, because we're just starting to learn, it's okay to stop right here. Now how did we get there? Well, again, you can make this one big radical because we're talking about multiplication here. So you'd put 3/5 times 5/7 underneath the radical, and then using our knowledge of fractions, you can cancel the 5 on the top and the 5 on the bottom cancel, and that's how you get just the 3 on the top and the 7 on the bottom. And on page 559, there's the reminder about the product rule for square roots, where you can mush them together. You can multiply them together underneath the radical. If you have two separate radicals, same index, same root, they're both square roots in this case. Or if you already have that, you can split them apart, and it works for products. And then you'll notice there's a quotient rule as well. It works the same thing for quotient. We've kind of hinted at that already. See you on page 2.